Welcome to the official YouTube channel for the Colin Cowherd podcast. Go on, hit the subscribe button. There you go, right down there. If you want to be among the first to hear my weekly takes, NFL, college football, more, right there. I don't love the feeling around Philadelphia. Now they'll pivot quickly if they're struggling at Thanksgiving. They'll make a move.
No.
So I don't love you're losing. It almost reminds me when the Patriots lost Bruschi and Vrabel, and you replace them with young guys. You're like, hey, these guys are good players. No, you lost the soul of your team. And Patriots, even with Tommy came back the next year, they were just a kind of a mistake-plagued mess. I don't love the vibe. And I'm very pro Eagles on my show, but I don't love the vibe I feel now. Your thoughts?
I think it's very, very difficult for any organization to replace two guys that have a combined 25 years experience in the same building. Both of them, I would say, I mean, Kelce for sure, Fletcher as well. I mean, guys going to get their numbers retired, be up in the, on the stadium, 91 and 65 or whatever number, Kelce at 62. I think the pressure, on the barbecue when it's low, went up to high on Jalen Hurts in terms of not just his play, but the leadership to run the organization. You had two guys. I mean, Fletcher Cox, a top 15 pick, so he was a highly touted guy, was a really good player. Kelce, late bloomer. But these guys have ran the organization for the last 7-8 years. So you lose that void, and then you're paying the quarterback $45 million. The coach in a little turmoil of like, okay, Sirianni, you got pressure on you. Sometimes when you have a really good organization internally, right, the Patriots had it forever. They had Tom, but they also had McCourty, Slater, Hightower, Edelman. Like they had a core. You start removing some of those guys. Now the pressure goes, well, you lose Fletcher Cox. Okay, it's on Jalen Carter that has a ton of question marks just as a human, let alone the player. Can he sustain? Jordan Davis. These are two highly touted high picks. Okay, can you guys become the next Fletcher Cox? Because he's no longer around, right? And they always draft linemen. So it's like, okay, they have a really good player to fill in for Jason Kelce, but it's not quite the same. His void that he leaves from, just verbally. And anytime there's an issue, though, the reporters go to those guys. They went to Kelce or Fletcher Cox last year when everything was imploding. He's like screaming at the reporter, like, calm down, that's bullshit. Kelce always could just simmer the moment. And in Philly, you need that. It's why the Russell Wilson thing in New York, I'm like, that pressure is a lot different in Seattle and even Denver, which is a high-level organization in terms of its coverage. It ain't New York. And Philly is the ultimate. And you just, to me, anytime you factor in a huge quarterback contract, I think the pressure on Sirianni, but on Hurts next year is just, you could argue the combo right going into the season with like McCarthy and Dak, like the level of like, let's see, this is just not you're not going to fire Hurts after the season because of the contract, but we've seen them move on fast from Wentz before. So he better play really well, like a Pro Bowl level, or they're going to have problems. And the leadership. It's not even just the play. Like everyone's now looking at you like it doesn't always feel like he's super verbal on the sideline, right? And it was reported like they're kind of working on that. Well, now he doesn't have a choice.
Yeah, and I think there is something. He's a bit undersized. Tua's a bit undersized. Kyler's a bit undersized. Russell Wilson undersized. Tua's been the only one that's acknowledged, yeah, at times I have trouble seeing down the field a little bit. So I think with Hurts, my two takeaways are the undersized quarterback generally end up being the great pocket quarterbacks of our time. Secondly, they get banged up a little bit more because they have to create alleys and they move more. I swear to God, the last 2 years, I'm not sure if Jalen Hurts has had a 3-week stretch where he's been healthy. I think he's always hurt.
Well, the other thing is last year after the contract, clearly he didn't run as much.
No question.
It was pretty obvious because early on in his career, it's one of his great attributes. He's not the fastest, but he's very natural with the ball in his hands. But I don't care who you are, whether you're built like, a little truck or whether you're super skinny like Bryce Young. If you're running a lot, you are going to get hit and you're going to get hit hard. Yeah, this league is not, John Lynch and Steve Atwater hitting you. These guys are still hitting you pretty hard. And we've never had faster players on defense. So clearly the wear and tear, not enough typically to like knock him out for a month, but I wonder if he's just in a lot of pain. But how do you balance? He's probably never going to be, he's never going to be a top 2 or 3 pocket quarterback in the NFL. But when he's playing really well, he's this hybrid player. Well, what happens to all these guys? as they age a little bit and the money comes in, I don't even blame them. I don't want to get tackled down the field, but you have to do that to be a great player. Like Lamar is pretty unique. He's so fast, he can avoid, and he's really good at getting down. Most of those guys don't have his like.
Or Josh Allen
speed.
Is so big that he just, like it's Big Ben.
And we'll see how long that's going to last, right? So I think Jalen, I would just live in the moment, and we got to run him, but be smart about it. But I need him running a little bit more because the pressure on their offense now, with removing Kelce, they're going to have to obviously be a lot better than they were. And Kellen Moore had a lot of success with a younger Dak. You would assume Fangio, but like you said, this organization, they work at rapid speed. They are not like, let's just give it a couple years, see how it goes. Like they will pivot and they will.
Yeah, no, they're the opposite of the Steelers. They don't let stuff bake. They're not really interested. That's why Pittsburgh's so fascinating to me because, I mean, like I remember talking to a general manager when Kenny Pickett was coming out, and he said, "Listen, Pittsburgh needs to find a quarterback. He's the best one in a terrible quarterback class." And I was told he was a top to a middle of the third round guy. That's just what he is. Well, that's what he looks like. He doesn't have a ton of confidence. He's the classic. He could win you a game if he had to start for 2 midseason. But by and large, God, Mason Rudolph came in and at least threw the ball to the right people. It felt like he, limited as he is, better arm talent, got the ball to Pickens. It's like, gee, it's not that hard. Target that guy 13 times, get it to him 9. You're going to score some points.